This video is sponsored by Factor 75. Get fresh, ready-made meals delivered to your doorstep when you sign up with Factor. Their menus are updated weekly. They have seafood, veggie, and keto options if that's what you're looking for. Check my link in the description below and use code FACTORSE10507 for 60% off your first box. So Ron DeSantis wants a grand jury to investigate COVID-19 vaccines and their production. Now, I am completely and totally for making certain that all ways in which our medications are produced are publicly available, like that knowledge is publicly available. I am completely 100% for that. However, I don't think that's what he's looking for. We'll go ahead and get into the article, and that'll give us a good idea of what he is trying to go for. But first, as always, let's go ahead and get into the fan art section. This one is from RTS22TJ. Said inspiration from the video about Spider-Man. Hope you enjoy Spider Suris. I made it. Oh, the one that me and Renita did on Andrew Tate. Oh dear. Ryujin, thank you very much for resubscribing. I appreciate it. Let's go ahead and see here. We got a comic. We have a comic here. Said one night working hard on another video. Wait, what happened? Is that Andrew? Is that supposed to be Andrew Tate? First, you gotta defeat my army. Oh no, it's Spider-Man fighting. Is that a Neko Spider-Man with boobs fighting coins? And it's got a bottle of slime Suris. And there is that a Suris blimp? And now there's, he literally has tattoo on his tattoo. How will you defeat the mighty Tatus? Easy nailhead. Apparently you was an airhead all this time. While in Florida, there's just an axe saying "Make America Fascist Again." Suris doesn't know the power of the dark Suris. Oh no, is this going to be part of a series? Oh no. Oh, jeez. Next one we have here is from Alexander II. Said, wow, I forgot I couldn't draw faces. Nevertheless, I doth present Slime Girl Suris and slime emerging from the ancient slime pools. I don't think the face looks that bad, Alexander. I think the artwork looks fantastic, personally. The next one we have here, of course, this was bound to happen. From Moonstar, there's a new hammer Pokemon called Tinkaton in Generation 9. Mooey Chewy, thank you very much for the raid. How was your stream? But there's a new Pokemon called Tinkaton in Generation 9, so I drew Suris as her. Tinkatons are only female, even named my Tinkatuff after you. Used the Slime Girl colors mostly for the color palette. You know, I don't think there's many things I've loved as much as this right here. And I haven't gotten Pokemon Scarlet and Violet yet. Can't afford to get them quite yet. But Jesus, I want to. Not just because they have Cave Mommy, but also because I need this Pokemon, because this Pokemon is the best. Anyway, as always, everybody, thank you all for your fan art submissions. If you want your fan art to be shown in a future video, the best way to do so is to drop it into the fan art section of the Discord. But, you know, no more coins, please. Kind of tired of coins. Kind of tired of coins. You could stop that. You could literally stop anytime you want. But Pandora's Quill says, "Wait, Cave Mommy? You don't know about Cave Mommy and Pokemon? Go ahead, just look up Pokemon Cave Mommy. You'll figure it out. You'll figure it out." Anywho, let's go ahead and get into the actual content. This is from the Associated Press. DeSantis seeks a grand jury investigation of COVID-19 vaccines. Let's take a read here. The formatting is awful, so give me a minute. Miami, the Associated Press, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis said Tuesday that he plans to petition the state's Supreme Court to convene a grand jury to investigate any and all wrongdoing with respect to the COVID-19 vaccines. What does any and all wrongdoing mean here? Is it wrongdoing in the sense of how they were produced? Is it wrongdoing in the sense of the ingredients that were used? Is it wrongdoing in the sense of how they were deliberated and given out to the general population? In what way and function are we looking for vaccine wrongdoing? Anywho, the Republican governor, who is often mentioned as a possible presidential candidate in 2024, gave no specifics on what the wrongdoing panel would investigate, but suggested that it would be in part aimed to jog loose more information from pharmaceutical companies about the vaccines and potential side effects. So the myriad of publicly available information on how vaccines are produced and what they are and the side effects they might have, that myriad of information that is available at your fingertips wasn't enough for you. Yeah, it's obviously a waste of time, but like, okay, so again, this is one of those things that like I agree with in principle, right? In principle, I believe that anything so much as a patent on a vaccine is immoral. I believe wholeheartedly that when it comes to things like public health, these are things that should be considered public good and are therefore available to the public, considering that most of the actual research that is done into vaccines and how they function is also publicly funded. If you didn't know that, the large breadth of innovation in the medical and most other industries, that research is publicly funded first, and then when something that looks like it might be concrete is found, then pharmaceutical companies will actually take that information and start working on it to develop their own things afterwards. What I mean by that is when we're talking about COVID, DNA sequencing, RNA sequencing, these are things that were required to map out what COVID was so we could develop a vaccine. That information was publicly funded first in the first place. Also, how to create an RNA vaccine as opposed to a bog standard vaccine that is grown onto a fetal cell. RNA vaccine research also was largely publicly funded before being utilized by private organizations like Pfizer after the fact. So again, if you want to do this whole like, they funded the research, therefore they deserve all the profits. Nah, bullshit, shut the fuck up, stop being wrong. It's okay to tell me I'm wrong in the comments section. I need things to laugh at while I take a shit. But, back to the actual article. He made the announcement following a roundtable with Florida Surgeon General Joseph Ladapo and a panel of scientists and physicians. Zamian, you dickhead. Thank you very much for redeeming your points for an ada, you degen. Anywho, he said we'll be able to get the data on whether they want to give. We'll be able to get the data whether they want to give it to us or not. In Florida, it is illegal to mislead and misrepresent, especially when you're talking about the efficacy of a drug. The efficacy of a drug. That's an interesting way to note this. So, I wonder what he's talking about there. Because if he's talking about the efficacy of the COVID vaccines, Axolotls of Cream, thank you for redeeming your points for an owl. I think what he's talking about is whether or not any particular vaccine has the ability to protect you from COVID and protect you not only from getting it, but transmitting it should you have it. Now, we know that vaccines largely, at least the COVID vaccines, they can lower the chance that you get COVID. But we also know that they are not 100% effective at that. But we also know that if you get COVID while you have a vaccine in your system, the effects of it are very, 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 very largely reduced. Case in point, at least for, not getting it as often, I've been to no less than 3 conventions in the last 6 months. I have not gotten COVID from any of those conventions. I've not even gotten sick from any of them. There was one that I was sick when I went, the one that was the Sonic convention that was held in Marietta. So I had to be, masked up for the majority of that to make sure that I didn't give anybody anything at the convention. But I've not caught anything COVID-related from a con, despite going to multiple of them. And I took my boosters right before too many games in Pennsylvania. They do have the ability to lower the chances of you getting sick. And if you are sick, they lower the strength of the sickness. They've also been shown to lower the rate of giving that sickness to other people, the rate of transference. One of the primary reasons for this is because by lowering the severity of any sickness that you have under COVID, one of the primary ways that COVID spreads, which is via airborne particulates, is lowered because you are coughing and sneezing less. Well, coughing mainly, it's an upper respiratory illness, but you are coughing less when you have your vaccine. The main way that you would transfer it to other people, those liquid particulates, fewer of them statistically are coming out of you, over and above the other things that it helps with. But let's get back into the Desantinator. Let's get back into his stuff. Vaccine studies funded by pharmaceutical companies that developed COVID-19 vaccines have been published in peer-reviewed journals such as the New England Journal of Medicine, and government panels reviewed data on the safety and effectiveness of the shots before approving them for use. The grand jury request, released later Tuesday, argues that the pharmaceutical companies had a financial interest in creating a climate in which people believed that getting a coronavirus vaccine would ensure they couldn't spread the virus to others. Now, that feels very, very vague. That feels incredibly vague to me. Because saying that getting the COVID-19 vaccine will lower the rate at which you transfer the COVID virus to other people should you get it, that is a true statement. And from what I understand, for the most part, that's most of the statement that we got. So even if he gets his panel, I wonder what they're going to find, because I don't think they're going to find what he's looking for. Desantis, or after this, it says it seeks a grand jury to investigate, among other things, whether any deceitful information was disseminated about vaccines purported to prevent COVID-19 infections, symptoms, and transmission. So COVID vaccines can help prevent infection, symptoms, and transmission. The problem is that people who have a very binary way of viewing literally anything, like we know Desantis does, they tend to see the statement, this can help prevent, as this has a 100% efficacy rate. Nothing has a 100% efficacy rate for the most part, especially in the medical industry. I'm sorry, everything has a high chance or a low chance of functioning. But asking for 101%, no, it's not going to work. Statewide grand juries, usually comprised of 18 people, can investigate criminal activity and issue indictments, but also examine systemic problems in Florida and make recommendations. Recent panels have tackled immigration issues and school safety. DeSantis noted that Florida recently got $3.2 billion through legal action against those responsible for the opioid crisis, so it's not like this is something that's unprecedented. That money came largely through lawsuits and settlements with drug makers, retailers, and distributors. $3.2 billion through legal action against responsible for the opioid crisis. So that I can understand. The opioid crisis is something that we understand pretty fucking well as a huge issue. DeSantis said that he expects to get approval from the Supreme Court for the statewide grand jury to be impaneled, likely in the Tampa Bay area. Well, of course he's going to get approval from the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is currently 6 out of 9 members heavily conservative, and at least 3 of those members known to be incredibly radical, Alito and a few others being on that list. So, yeah, we kind of already know that. We know the makeup of the Supreme Court right now. We know what's going to happen there. He said that will come with legal processes that will be able to get more information and to bring legal accountability to those who committed misconduct. DeSantis also announced that he is creating an entity called the Public Health Integrity Committee, which will include many of the physicians and scientists who participated in Tuesday's roundtable. The group includes prominent opponents of lockdowns, federal vaccine mandates, and child vaccinations. So the group includes quacks, basically. The group includes quacks. The group includes people who do not like the thing that the founding fathers were okay with, and also the reason that we don't have to deal with shit tons of childhood illnesses to the degree we used to. He said that over the course of the pandemic, some people have lost faith in public health institutions. Yeah, no duh, they lost faith in public health institutions, Ron DeSantis. You and Fox News and several other people made certain of that. It's almost as if a good chunk of the country is conservative, and as a result, that good chunk of the country will lose faith in the institutions that people who tell them what to do tell them to lose faith in. I'm sorry. 4 some odd million people watch Tucker Carlson every night. The governor has frequently spoken out against CDC directives, including mask and vaccine mandates, and filed lawsuits to stop many from taking effect in Florida. Additionally, the governor announced that Ladapo will conduct the research through the University of Florida to assess sudden deaths of individuals in good health who received the COVID-19 vaccine. That'll be interesting information to come out of that, considering that we know that there's not really a whole lot that the vaccine does that can cause sudden death, unless you have an allergy that you just didn't know about. Anyway, in addition, he said the Florida Department of Health will use disease surveillance and vital statistics to assess such deaths. Okay, I guess we'll see how that goes. I mean, I'm pretty sure usually when we're trying to figure out what happened with those deaths, we use autopsies. But sure, let's do it with stats. Why not? I love numbers. So, that's what's going on in Florida right now. You know, potential presidential candidate Ron DeSantis getting very, very angry at medical industries being the industries that we've known them to be for a very long time. Now, granted, this is not to say that the pharmaceutical industry in the United States doesn't have its issues. Obviously, he won a case when it came to the opioid crisis, which we know are overprescribed in the United States. We also know that things like the insurance industry are so heavily wrapped up in our pharmaceutical industry that prices for certain medications and also whether or not people can gain access to meds they need, not just including trans people and their ability to get HRT, but also people who just need basic-ass life-saving medication and don't have access to it. We know that there's issues with the pharmaceutical industry because of shit like that. We already know that. But I don't think that this is going to end up being one of the ones that is found. There's so much there's so much of a spotlight on COVID issues when it comes to the medical industry because conservatives are angry about lockdowns and what they perceive to be government overreach. I'll be interested to see what happens with this particular panel. I'm curious what they'll find, but I don't think they're going to find the things that DeSantis is looking for, at least not in the numbers he's probably guessing that he's going to find. But maybe I'm wrong. In any case, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Said cough, cough, insulin. Yeah, insulin being a major one. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe if you haven't already. And as always, everyone, insert end of video tagline here.